6 a.m. up and at 'em on a Monday morning, May the 19th. Some school districts, Preston Thorne would say it's the final week of school. And as you said, you got to close out.
Got to finish. You got to finish. There's a lot of things that can happen on those last days of schools. There's all types of stuff happening. Everybody, unfortunately, the kids who come to school, they come to school with agendas. They come to school ready to make things happen on the last couple of days of school. So you gotta stay focused.
You got to stay focused. That is kind of the name of the game. One program stayed focused and closed out. One program, well, we'll talk about it. We'll just get to it. Jen, let's hit our most important things of the day.
Now on the early game, let's kick off the show with the MITs. The most important things on the game.
What was most important from the weekend? Well, it all started with being super focused, closing out, doing what you got to do, and officially ending the rivalry with those North Florida Ospreys.
It's over. Ospreys down. Ospreys are done. You're done in this town, Ospreys. We don't want to hear about you anymore. We'd like to never see you again. You ruined our basketball season. That's all right, though. We got them back.
South Carolina's softball team, Ashley Chastain Woodard in her first season, 9 transfers in, 6 following her from Charlotte, and they come down and they get the job done. They roll through the regionals this weekend, Preston. No problems. I was going to say very little problems throughout the weekend. They get the job done, and you know what? This is now a very fun story to just see, all right, where are they going to take it?
Yeah, I mean, they're officially considered a season a success. Remember we talked about, well, if they did this year, if they didn't get out of Columbia, would it be? It is officially a success. Now, everything else from a fan standpoint, not speaking for the players or coaches. I know they have bigger goals that are out in front of them, but for us, the idea that this season has been a success, it's done. They've accomplished more than we thought they were going to accomplish this year, so everything else is gravy from this point moving forward.
So they will be back in action Friday evening on ESPN2. They will take on UCLA. UCLA will make the cross-country trip. They win their regional, which, listen, for everybody's like, well, come on. I mean, it's a regional. You're a top 10 team. Has anybody checked on Texas A&M lately?
It happens. That's to quote the great philosopher Herm Edwards, it's why you play the games, because things can happen. Now, I will admit that when you looked at our region and you saw, maybe if you saw Elon and North Florida, you might have been like, they should advance out of that. But you never know. And that's why you got to finish, and that's why you got to play these games.
No, you're 110% right. If you don't know what we're talking about, Texas A&M was the number 1 overall national seed. The number 1 overall national seed goes down to Liberty yesterday in College Station. So the number 1 overall national seed, Texas A&M, is out of the tournament, and that opens the door for who knows what. We always look at like Oklahoma. By the way, Oklahoma did advance. They thumped California yesterday. That well-known SEC, ACC softball rivalry.
It's been in the making for a long time.
Oklahoma did advance. The number 3 seed Florida advanced. The number 4 seed Arkansas advanced. Number 5 seed Florida State. So a lot of teams, you can kind of see where I'm going with that. Texas advanced at the number 6 seed, number 7 Tennessee. But the main one there was Texas A&M. So just saying, well, yeah, you should get it done. It's not just as simple as saying, it was no problem. You're probably right. I probably looked at Virginia and was like, that could be a little difficult. North Florida, that name is a little scary still, but we've officially vanquished them. South Carolina gets out of their regional.
Yeah, and that's all you want to do, and that's why it's so important to host for these super regionals. And we talked about the importance of getting the top 8 seed nationally, so now they don't have to fly all the way out to Los Angeles. They don't have to be out there for the weekend. They can get another chance to host here. The crowd gets to come out, which there was a great crowd this weekend. So it's always, and that's why the build-up in the season matters, especially when you get to this point in the postseason.
So that was one of the most important things of the weekend. On the flip side of that,
history.
Oh, boy. Baseball discussion. Well, Jamie Bradford should be fun in the next hour.
I think Jamie's on hold right now. If I look up there.
Jamie might be en route to Columbia right now. 45 minutes isn't going to be enough for him. You win the Thursday night game. We talked about it. You do it in walk-off fashion, however you arrived at it.
Wait. Before you say that really quickly, the women won the last game by run rule, in which they scored the last run of the game. However, it was not a walk-off. They did,
totally understand.
They did run rule, but not a walk-off.
Totally understand.
Continue.
Yeah. But the baseball team wins the first one. They win it. Yeah. Again, technically a walk-off. Pitcher, we believe, left the mound at some point during the evening. However, things then proceeded to go downhill. The Gamecocks get defeated 8-1 on Friday night by LSU, and then get closed out 7-3 on Saturday afternoon. They will now play Florida on the 20th tomorrow. They will be in Hoover at 5:30, and that very well may be a wrap to this abysmal, as somebody hits me up on Twitter, season.
I don't know if y'all remember the last time we played Florida.
It didn't go well.
Wasn't great.
Went poorly.
It might have been the time people started looking around and started grabbing their oxygen masks. I know people were jumping off earlier, but that Florida drubbing was pretty interesting.
The Florida beating at the beginning of May was where I think everybody went, uh-oh.
Yeah.
This plane is down.
Yeah. Don't think like we're going to be able to turn the tail up on this one. So I was reading, doing the prep. The journalists, all the folks at On 3, all the folks in the state, they're all doing an amazing job. As I talked about, Derek Scott doing an amazing job. The most recent phrase I saw was the Gamecocks locked up the 15th seed in the SEC tournament. So the last week they clinched, and then they locked up the 15th seed, Bill.
That's how you put lipstick on a pig right there.
Locked it up, Bill.
Yeah, they there's going to be a lot to dissect here probably by the end of the week on what has occurred this season. But as I've now said for 2 or 3 weeks, really since the Florida series, what is the future? What in the world is the future of this program? And John Whittle on, Thursday, I believe, did not give a positive outlook for next season either.
I would say it was less than a ringing endorsement.
It wasn't something that you went, because as my point is, teams, programs have a bad season. The key is don't have back-to-back bad seasons. Don't allow one bad season to turn into 3 or 4 where your program is nosedived. I think we can say South Carolina baseball has been marginal for the past 14 years. 13, 14 years.
Oh, now we're getting
12 years, I think.
Now we're getting there,
12.
Bill. Now we're getting there.
But this is a nosedive of a season. So what do you do to fix it? And it has to be fixed ASAP, like right now. You don't have another one of these next year. And so is the coach the problem? Is the talent the problem? Is the assistants the problem? Is, the bats the problem? Is the strength and conditioning problem? You get the point. All right, what is the problem? Fix it. Fix it now. And we'll talk with Jamie Bradford about that. Where is the most blame to go around? There's a lot of kind of odd things down there that is going on from outside looking in. From the outside looking in, it appears that there is a lot of kind of very odd stuff going on in terms of communication, in terms of relationships, in terms of chemistry, everything. And it's going to make for the next, I don't know, what do you want to say, 14 days, I would say. I'll say we'll get into June. The next 14 days, I would assume, we're going to be a little interesting for South Carolina baseball.
Oh, things will be happening.
And nothing of it has to do on the field stuff now.
Yeah, the season will end soon enough. I don't think they expect to make a major run through the SEC tournament. The season will end soon enough. We'll be there for that. But then after that, I expect probably in the next seven days after that, there will be things happening. The cool part for me, and I don't know, I can only speak it for myself, is I don't know what's going to happen. I feel like this is we're entering into an era. Last year we had a coaching change, which sort of propelled us through the summer. This year, there will be things happening. I just have no idea what it's going to be.
We'll talk with Jamie Bradford about that, see if he's got an idea, because that's where I'm 110% with you. I have zero clue.
Something's going down.
Yes. I feel like it's safe to say somebody's not going to be back that's on the coaching staff, and I don't know who, and I don't even know how to speculate on that, because we're also living in a period where there's a new athletic director, and this is our first real glimpse into. I think we all felt that Lamont Paris was safe coming off of off of the NCAA tournament and having the bad year. We felt like Lamont was safe and that there was going to be no massive changes, that there were going to be sit-down discussions. Again, what do we do to fix this? New athletic director looking around at this baseball program might not have the same feeling on stuff. And so we're about to learn a lot about our athletic director as well.
We have not learned. This is his first major test as far as hiring is concerned. Obviously, he's been doing things behind the scenes and working on raising money and building and all that type of stuff. That's great. But the fans care about this particular aspect of being an athletic director. Who are you going to hire? Because, to bring it back to our most important thing, we've seen that if you hire a great coach in the first year, things can change quickly, as we've seen with the softball program. So the days of saying, oh, well, we're going to give them time, we're going to see, I don't know if we're there anymore. And also when you put together the fact that this particular Palmineri is not Jeremiah Deniz's guy.
Right, that's what I mean.
There are things that can happen.
803-404-6100. So that was the most important things from the weekend. We'll come back. We'll get back into softball. Obviously, a lot to get to. Playoffs over the weekend.
Go New York, go New York, go.
So Richard wasn't right at all about the Celtics.
That
was a beating.
That
was an absolute.
They lost the first
beating.
game of the series. They lost the series and they lost the first game.
Oh.
Celtics lose the series 5-1.
New York came out ready to go. Not so much for Boston. Last night, Florida Panthers take down the Toronto Maple Leafs. That sets up a Panthers.
That was a Game 7, correct?
Yep. Sets up Panthers Hurricanes, which should be a great series this week. Scotty Scheffler wins the PGA Championship. And I felt like the last 9 holes were exactly what the PGA Championship had become. Kind of an odd, interesting, boring. All those words somehow describe the PGA Championship this weekend.
I saw John Rahms tried to creep up in there for a little while.
Tied with 9 to go. That's what I'm saying. You thought it looked like we were going to get one of those great back 9 stretches, and then he collapsed, and Scotty Scheffler just cruises to victory, wins by 5 strokes over a group of people. So we'll get into that also this morning. 803-404-6100. We'll get back in, let you hear a little bit from Ashley Chastain Woodard and the softball team as we roll along. You're listening to the early game.
Press here for our friends at Integrated Media. Listen, we've been trying to tell you all year to get yourself ready. We told you in the spring that was coming. Well, guess what? The spring is almost sprung, and we're getting in the summertime. When you get in the summertime, we are getting close to football season, and then make sure you have yourself right with your outdoor setup for football season. So what can you get? You can get Samsung Terrace TVs that are waterproof. You can get Sonos outdoor speakers for TV and music, or Wi-Fi that works indoors and outdoors, so you can have all your devices set up outside with you, your tablet, your iPad, your phone, your TV, whatever you need, you can have set up in your outdoor space. From home theater setup to adjusting your thermostat, or maybe it's monitoring your security systems from your cell phone, Integrated Media is the company that you need to call. So call Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. That's 803-948-8327. Or you can reach them online at integratedmediainc.com. That's online at integratedmediainc.com.
It appears we have an accident, I-26 eastbound at I-77. Again, that's I-26 eastbound. There at I-77, exit 116. Be mindful of that if you are heading that direction. And as far as your forecast is concerned, we're looking for kind of warm conditions for sure, and looking for a high today of about 89. Right now, we are looking at not too bad out there, 67 on 107.5 The Game.
We'll get it up and going here in just a minute, as the technology in there is not quite awake just yet, but we'll get you some Ashley Chastain Woodard. Preston Thorne, is a magical season, a magical ride continues, and one thing about it, thank goodness for all the women this spring, because if not for Dawn Staley's team and Ashley Chastain Woodard's team, oh good Lord, would have it been a rough first 5.5 months to the year.
Yeah, but the only caveat to that is that we've come to expect this out of Dawn Staley's team,
True.
right? So even when they were winning games and winning SEC championships, it's like, all right, Dawn, that's great. Thank you. We really appreciate that, because we needed that as a hoops playing Gamecock nation. But it was been a pleasant surprise, to say the least. We saw them get that start earlier in the season, get off to that great 20-0, I believe it was, when people when we said, hey, something might be happening, and they continued throughout the season. It's been really fun to watch their rise throughout the year.
It's been a lot of fun, and look, this is you mentioned it, and this is another reason why I say you can't have back-to-back bad years. Now, South Carolina softball last year, mind you, was in a regional. They were up in Durham. They did go to a regional last year, so it's not exactly like Ashley Chastain Woodard came in here and had to do a complete rebuild and turnaround.
But she did, because she brought all of her folks with her, right?
She changed a little bit of the culture and did what she had to do.
She changed the culture of the program. She brought in assistant coaches with her, whether they were with her at Charlotte or they were coming from other schools and throughout her network. She brought in, who is now the single-season home run leader, she brought her with her, bringing several players along with them to the old Dion adage, I'm bringing my luggage, and it's Louis. Well, her luggage was Louis, and all of her players have greatly contributed this year with the team.
They were absolutely fantastic. Jen, how we come in with that? Computer just deciding? No. Okay. All right. I think your mic is down now.
Awesome. We'll try this one. I said 2 sound sources are available to me, and neither of which want to actually play something. So we're working on it.
That's totally understandable. We'll get that fixed, get it right. But, Preston, I think the big picture here is how you correlate what Ashley Chastain Woodard has done, how she brought in a new energy to a program that, again, it wasn't bad, it wasn't awful, but in the SEC, which is an uber-talented league in softball, she came in, brought in new players, I guess they were upgrades, but most importantly, changed everything in one season.
You said the phrase. You said it. I don't know if you meant to say it, but she brought in a new energy.
Yeah.
A new energy as a young, hungry, first-year head coach who was excited about being able to compete at her alma mater, which we know that can work and that might not work all the time, so that's not as big of a thing. But somebody who has climbed up the ranks, won at Charlotte, and was looking forward to this opportunity to compete at the highest levels. It just so happens that it's her alma mater, but she was ready to compete at this level and bringing in this new energy. When I was watching the game on one of the games, I forget which game it was, and they were talking about their media availability with Coach Woodard, and they were saying how when she was talking to him, she was bringing all types of analytics to the game and all these new statistics that even the broadcasters said that they did not have. And so a new approach, a fresh energy, a new way to look at the game, and that's what this particular program needed, because Bev Smith was a good coach, but she had been there for a long time. And if I would guess the word was, it just had gotten routine. I won't go as far as to say stale, but it had gotten routine, and you needed somebody to come in there with a new energy, and that's what Coach Woodard did.
All right, you say we got some now? Oh, good. It's up and working. And let's hear a little bit on Ashley Chastain Woodard talking about advancing to the Super Regionals.
Yeah, I don't know if I have words, to be honest. I'm just really proud of everyone that is involved with the program. It takes a village to do something like this, and it's a special group, and I'm really excited that we're going to be right back here a week from now. And, it's just a testament to really the belief that these guys had in everything we talked about from day one. And it's really hard to do. We play in the best conference in the country, and to put ourselves in a position to host and then to come through as the regional champs and then have an opportunity to go to Supers next weekend. It's just really special. It's hard to do, and I'm really proud of the staff, proud of the players, and then really everyone that's been involved every step of the way since last summer. So I don't really have words. It'll probably take me through the summer to process it all. But right now we're just really focused on what's next, and being able to prepare, and just the opportunity to be together again another week is really special.
Same phrase, hits different. When Ashley Chastain Woodard says she doesn't have words, we smile. Coach Palmineri says he doesn't have words, we frown. It's not good. We need words from you, Palmineri. Ashley, you winning? We don't need words from you. Good. We don't need words.
Just
get it on the field.
Happy, bubbly, we're advancing. And one thing, you and I just said it, look, for, I think, us, okay, now we deem it a successful season. Ashley Chastain Woodard, on the other hand, talked about after the game, not looking past the Super Regionals. She knows there's more to do. Here's her talking yesterday about not looking past the Super Regionals.
Yeah, I'm going to do my best to keep him in the moment. There's no doubt, once you reach a certain point, your mind is, hey, we're a few away from the biggest stage, the stage we've always dreamed of playing on. So I think we'll definitely talk through that this week. I think at some point it becomes super motivating and inspiring that, we're so close. I think that, there comes a point where it almost works in your favor. I think when you're too far away from it, it doesn't work in your favor. But I think once you get inching closer to where you want to go, I think it puts a lot of winds in your sails. So we're going to talk a lot about it. We want to make plans to go to Oklahoma at the end of the Super Regional next weekend. And so I think it'll put wind in our sails. I'm not super worried about them being in the present moment, because at this point, they know what we got to do. So we got to win a series next weekend against a really good team that will come from the West. And I think they still have to play tonight. So I'm not so sure we know who that is going to be yet.
And we now know that is UCLA. I like how she said that. They're going to come from the West.
Somewhere out there, coming from the West. Most importantly, we don't have to go to the West.
Right.
Most importantly, because that is a far trip. It's uncomfortable. You don't want to do that. So it's great for them to be at home.
So they will take on, again, UCLA. That'll get going Friday night, 7 o'clock. It'll be on ESPN2. You'll be able to see that there. I'll get you the schedule for the rest of the weekend here in just a minute. But just a fun time for them. Now, that'll offset what we're about to talk about in the next segment, which is not a fun time for South Carolina baseball. But, again, a credit to Dawn Staley and Ashley Chastain Woodard, who have made our jobs here just a little easier over the last 5.5 months.
Yeah, definitely given us something positive to talk about, because there was not a lot on the other side of the ledgers.
Speaking of the other side of the ledgers, we will get to that.
History.
South Carolina baseball, yes, unfortunately is they are doing what they are. And again, someone hit me up on Twitter and said abysmal, and that seems fair. I can go on.
Y'all again so creative with your vocabulary. Keep them coming in.
Very good. Yep. 803-404-6100. You're listening to the early game.
Hey, it's Jen from CHW Cabinetry in Lexington. The kitchen demolition that we had to do, man, I was not looking forward to that at all. Didn't kind of have a choice with the flood, but we went to CHW Cabinetry to figure out what we wanted and what we needed as far as new kitchen cabinets. They could not have been any better. And once we get everything chosen, the photorealistic renderings I talked about, man, it was so helpful because it was a picture of our finished kitchen before it's even done. And that way we could see what else we needed to put in there and what would match, and getting the flooring and the countertops and backsplash and all of that. Kitchens, yes, they do a great job with kitchens, but they can help you out with other things around your house, like maybe your closet needs to be a little bit more functional, want to get rid of those wire hanging racks, need maybe a home office workspace. Visit chwcabinetry.com and call them today at 803-520-6837. Be sure to tell them Jen Jensen sent you. CHW Cabinetry in Lexington, passion from inspiration to installation. I-26 eastbound at I-77, an accident there. And as far as your forecast goes, late day storms a possibility after like 6 o'clock or so. Just a chance. 89 is going to be our high. Looking for a high of 92 with some clouds tomorrow. Maybe an isolated storm or two on Wednesday and a high of 90. Right now, though, starting off the morning at 66 on 107.5 The Game.
6:33 on a Monday morning as we get you up and going fresh off of a fun sports weekend. A lot to get to, a lot to discuss. Jamie Bradford due up in about 45 minutes, and we'll talk, obviously, a lot of baseball. But, Preston, yeah, it was a rough weekend over at Founders Park. You get the Thursday night victory, and then that's followed up with just two solid beatings, being outscored 15-4 over the next two games, 8-1 on Friday night, 7-3 on Saturday afternoon. Afterwards, after the Saturday game, Paul Maneri talked in hindsight what could have made them better in SEC play. Here's what he had to say Saturday afternoon following their loss.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure what the first part of that question had to do with the last part of the question, but, listen, whenever there's a transition, there's a reason there's a transition. So, you do the best you can with the players that you have, and you try to add to it with a little bit like we did. And, we did the best we could. I thought we would be more competitive in the conference. I didn't think we had a national championship caliber team put together, but we just some days got overpowered by the other team. Their pitching was just too good for our hitters, or their hitters were too good for our pitching, and consequently we end up with the record that we did. I'm not sure what I could have done differently. We worked really hard last summer when we first got the job to add a few pieces, and some guys that we added did some good stuff for us, and some other guys that we added maybe didn't perform at the level we might have thought they would have. But yeah, the league's tough. It's unforgiving, and we've already rolled up our sleeves and are working hard at recruiting for next year to try to make our team as best as we can and better than it was this year. But we still have the SEC tournament, so I don't want to get into all that too much. We got a big game on Tuesday, and we'll get ready for that.
Maybe I don't know how did Ashley Chastain Woodard phrase it? I don't know if I have the words right now. Mm-hmm. Maybe sometimes you just say, I don't know if I have the words right now.
Well, yeah. Well, unfortunately, Paul has said that a couple of times. It hasn't quite gone over so well from we want words. Yeah. We want words because you don't have wins. When you win, we don't need words. When you lose, we need some words.
Actions speak louder than words, and if the actions aren't so great, then we need the words.
That
Fair
is
point.
Exactly
Fair
correct.
Point. It's one of those things right now. South Carolina baseball, they, as you said, make history, and not the good kind of history. 6-24 in conference play, Preston, and it's a situation where there were injuries. We have to acknowledge that there were some things that occurred that might have changed the dynamics of the team a little bit. But did it change the dynamics of the team from going 10-20 to 6-24 or 11-19? I say respectable. I don't know if that's still respectable, but you get the point. To a historically bad SEC season.
That's what we don't know. We weren't there in the summer. We don't know what pieces he's talking about that performed higher or lower than what they thought they were going to do. But I think for me as a fan, and I'm not going to speak for anybody else, okay, if we didn't, because remember the pundits picked them 14th. So nationally the idea was that they did not have the talent or whatever the case was to be at the top of the level. So if you get picked 14th, and then you finish 15th, that's very poor. Because what I expected was this veteran coaching staff to be able to take limited levels of talent, rise them up, shore up some of the fundamentals, do some crafty things. I don't know whatever magic that a SEC World Series championship winning coach is supposed to have, and elevate whatever talent they had to a next level. So you were picked 14th. I would have expected that coaching staff would have been able to get them up into maybe the single digits. They did not. They went backwards.
Right. Again, much like I mentioned with softball, softball was in a regional last year. South Carolina was in a regional. Now, they weren't like a great team in a regional. We didn't expect them to make some kind of big run, but they did indeed get to a regional, obviously lost in the Raleigh regional. But, Preston, this team backslid tremendously. And not only – this is the part to me that is the most concerning. Not only did they slide backwards – they slid so far backwards that it's, as John Whittle kind of said, it was not a ringing endorsement for the future. It's hard to look at this program right now and go, okay, they will get back to being a College World Series team in the next 5 years. Now, the transfer portal, NIL, revenue sharing, all that does change. Doesn't just change baseball; it changes all of college athletics with how quickly you can build a program. But this team looked so far off and so outmatched, and we're again, sometimes all you can kind of do is giggle and laugh at it. But you look at the games coming down the stretch, and to me, there's two ways to look at it. Paul Maneri completely lost the team, and the team quit because they weren't competitive. I know they won the LSU game, but they weren't competitive. I mean, we joked about it. The team they're about to play, Florida, tomorrow, beat them by a grand total of 39-8.
Here's the thing. When you're talking baseball scores, you don't want to be having to do that hard of a math.
Yeah.
It should be like, they beat them 12-6 over the series or something. You don't want to be like, carry the one, add up. You don't want to be doing that with baseball scores.
Thankfully, that was pretty easy. 2 and 8 gives me a 0. I knew I had to carry the 1 to 3 and then 9. So, but 39-8 to Florida. Then you go to the Auburn series. Well, Auburn just walloped them in the first one, 24-2. You gave up 11 runs and 11 more runs. You got beaten that series. At least you scored 10 in the second game. You scored 10. But that series, you get beat 46-17.
See?
I'm running a real risk of embarrassing myself here.
An offensive explosion.
And then this weekend, you really go down 20-10 if you want to look at it that way. So you got doubled up, in some cases tripled up in the last 3 series.
This is the if. This is hypothetical. Obviously, this cannot happen. But if we were to flip this year around and say they started the season off this way and maybe they ended in more competitive, I think people would be more accepting of it.
Well, that's what happened in Lamont Paris's first year.
There you go.
Is that they were down the stretch, they didn't win a lot, but they were more competitive. One of the questions will be, can you retain? They do have some young talent. Can you retain them? And Paul Maneri was asked on Saturday afternoon, can you convince your young stars to come back? Here's what he had to say.
Yeah. Hopefully that those few players that you're talking about are, all in and want to be here and share the vision that I have for the program. I mean, certainly kids that we're recruiting are seeing the vision that I have. I've been there before. This season was very similar to my first season at LSU, and it's hard. It's a hard job. It's tough to win games in this league, and people have to share the vision and believe in it and want to play a big part in it. And I feel confident that that we're going to be able to retain the ones that we want to retain, and we'll go from there. Again, I don't really want to talk too much about it with the season still not having been completed, and I haven't talked to any players, so it's a hard question to answer.
That dinging was a phone. No, it wasn't anything here in the studio. That was it, and you can't help but wonder if that was Karen Maneri. Hey, I'm on Zillow right now, and there's homes available.
It also hit at the perfect. It was a perfect. The ones we want to retain. Ding. That was a tough one. I respect that. The season's not over. It is inherently a little bit distasteful for the coach to be talking about the next season. So I respect that. I respect that point of view. However, the season's ending very quickly, and we're going to need some answers.
He says that this was similar to his first season at LSU. His first season at LSU, they went 29, 26, and 1. Maybe one of the strangest stats I've ever seen. Paul Maneri has a lot of ties in baseball. He had 3 at Notre Dame, and he had 3 at LSU. 6 ties in baseball. That seems abnormal to me. I feel like that's got to be if not if he's not the leading, the all-time, I was going to say, you can't say winning, but the all-time leader in tied baseball games, he's got to be close, by the way. But his first season at LSU, 29, 26, and 1. But in conference play, they were 12, 17, and 1. Now, he did turn it around dramatically in year 2, 49, 19, and 1. 18, 11, and 1, and they went to the College World Series. And in year 3, he won the College World Series championship.
So there is a precedent. However, that might have been that was a different time in baseball, and that was a different coach as far as age is concerned.
803-404, excuse me, 803-404-6100. Come back. We'll wrap up hour number one. Those Knicks fans, man. They're kind of getting depressed and all of a sudden. You're listening to the early game.
Preston here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with the insurance to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are. School, home, work, it does not matter. Absolute Glass will come out and take care of the job for you. Doesn't matter whether it's if you're at home, you want to do your windows, your mirrors, shower enclosures. As I say it all the time, if you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
New York Knicks. We are the New York Knicks. We are the New York Knicks. We are the New York Knicks. Say go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go. Say go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go. We're back on track on the floor, scoring more. It's 94, and the Knicks are hardcore. And I'll tell you like this, we ain't never looked sharper. With Hubert, Bonner, Greg, and Harper, it's the Knicks, and we're back on pace. Everyone's gearing up for the championship race, and the fans are going crazy, and they're doing it for a reason. Cause 94 is the Knickerbocker season. You better believe the Knicks got all that it takes. We're shooting three-pointers, and we're running fast breaks. And if your defense makes a mistake, then bam, you ain't dunks in your face. This is a team you
Does that feel distinctly 90s to anybody listening?
I mean, I was just going to let it play because
Say go New York, go New York, go.
Go New York, go New York, go.
Go New York, go New York, go.
go ahead. Whatever.
If you listen to the song, they reference 1994.
Yeah.
It's the last time the Knicks were any good. And actually, not technically, because they were the last time they were actually to the Eastern Conference Finals was not 1994. It was 1999, Bill. 26 years ago. It's been a long time for the long-suffering New York Knicks fan. And, Bill, I'm here to tell you, I don't know if you've been paying attention. I don't know if you understand how important this is to those people up there, but you know the SEC mantra of it just means more. Well, basketball for the Knicks in New York just means more. Jen, let's hear this clip. I think it's clip 17 here. This is the final seconds of the game series clinching win in the Garden against the Celtics.
And now the Knicks can dribble it out. For the first time in 2.5 decades, the New York Knicks are going to a conference final. And they do it in dominant fashion as they defeat the Celtics in 6 games. It's their largest playoff win ever.
Knicks fans, Bill, annoying or awesome? What are we going with here?
Truthfully, I'm just glancing back over their history. I mean, I would go annoying if I've got to pick one or the other. And because, like, New York, I've always felt like they should be a lot better. Like, it's like I'm being sold this beautiful car with no engine. Oh, they're New York. They should be great. Like, I'm used to the Yankees being good. I've seen the Giants win World Super Bowls in my time.
Both long times ago for both teams.
But I've seen that. I've never seen the Knicks win a championship. And quite frankly, their relevance in the basketball world has been very minimal to me. I remember more of them fighting the Miami Heat, literally like fighting the Miami Heat.
Great times.
During those days. 94 and 99 were the last times, the 2 times they were in the finals, but they haven't won a championship. They've only won 2 championships. 2. Like, I feel like I'm being sold this incredible franchise. I mean, you realize the Heat have what? 3 championships? 4 championships? I can't remember.
But the Heat fans don't show up to the games. The Knicks fans are there, and the celebrities are there. Ben Stiller, Anne Hathaway, Tracy Morgan. You have all the alum.
Spike Lee guy.
Spike Lee's there. You have all the alum that are sitting there. Who else did I see at the Timothée Chalamet, Kendall Jenner. All the celebs are there. They want to be part of this. Miami fans, they don't care. They don't even show up to
Jimmy Buffett counts.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace.
Or count in. I'm sorry. Yeah,
for sure.
Because I think he got kicked out of a game, one of the Heat games, actually, out of the Knicks games.
These people care. And my question is, Bill, taking the Knicks fans, I think the Knicks fans can compete in the SEC. I believe they are SEC-level fandom. And my question is, 803-404-6100, what other professional fan bases could be in the SEC as far as fan bases? Let's just take Vanderbilt out. Let's move them to the side. Let's say, hey, Vandy, you stay to the side. We have 1 spot left in the SEC for a professional fan base. Who would it be? I believe the Knicks fans can get in. They're very primed for being the SEC. A little bit delusional, absolutely overreacting to minor success, long-suffering, think they're better than they are. They are primed for being in the SEC. What other professional franchises can match SEC level entitlement?
Send those in. I'm trying to narrow it down to baseball, the top end baseball, the top end football, and the top end basketball. So you go Knicks, probably have to put Cowboys fans in there. They're pretty delusional. They're pretty delusional. Yeah.
Go New York, go New York.
That was a classic.
Go. Let's bring it back.
Let's play it on Amazon when I get in my car. Bill Gunner for Corley Pool Solutions. It is almost summertime. That's right. It is almost time for those kids to be out of school and looking for something to do during the day. And if you've got a backyard pool, that normally means them relaxing, jumping in the pool, doing cannonballs. But if you've got algae in your pool, if it's more green than it is blue, that's a bit of a problem. You need to call the professionals. Tracy Corley, with over 20 years of experience in the pool maintaining industry, he knows exactly how to keep that pool looking spotless, looking perfect, and ready to be used this summer. And with flat rate pricing, including all of the chemicals, you know exactly what you're paying for. It is more affordable for you to use Tracy Corley and Corley Pool Solutions than it is for you to try and maintain the pool yourself. So give him a phone call, 803-445-8109. Again, that's 803-445-8109. Again, just flat rate pricing, including all the chemicals. You know exactly what you're going to pay when you sign up with Corley Pool Solutions to have them maintain your pool. Give them a phone call today, 803-445-8109.
Still working that earlier tie up there, I-26 eastbound at I-77. Aside from that, traffic moving along fairly well this morning. Hope it is for you as well. 89 will be the high today, maybe a couple late afternoon, almost early evening pop-up storms possible. 92 tomorrow with some cloudy conditions and just another chance for some isolated storms on Wednesday. 90 for the high. Right now, 66 on 107.5 The Game.
7 a.m. on your Monday morning, fresh off a fantastic sports weekend, PGA Championship. Scotty Scheffler, good call, Wesley Bryan. He called it.
And in turn, good call, Preston Thorne.
Yeah.
I went with Wesley Bryan.
Good call, yes. Very wise.
Hey, Wesley says it, I say it.
Very, very true. Very wise. Yes, Wesley Bryan calling us, that was Friday morning? Is that right? Yeah, Friday morning. And so he had actually seen a day's worth of action, and Scotty was down the list.
To be clear, yeah, Scotty was not on the top of the leaderboard at that moment, but he was like, yeah, nah, just go with the pro. Run the play.
Run the play. Take the guy. Yeah, and so Scotty Scheffler, again, odd tournament. Odd venue, and I say odd venue, but we talked about it a little bit over Friday. The reviews that Quail Hollow, I've been up there. It's not a bad course. Is kind of what I came away from talking with people. It's not a bad course. It's a long course, a really long course, exceptionally long course. But it's not a championship course, and I'll be interested to see how the PGA handles that moving forward. This was the second time they hosted the PGA Championship, did so back in 2017. But I don't know. There's an odd vibe around it.
Yeah, for me, as a very outsider, casual looking in, it doesn't feel like the place where you hold the PGA Championship should be described as not bad.
Yeah.
The PGA Championship be held somewhere that's highly regarded or somewhere that's really interesting, and that does not seem to fit the case for Quail Hollow.
Yeah, it was, again, kind of an odd vibe in talking with people up there about it and just seeing how it kind of all shaped out. But, again, you get a major champion. It produces Scotty Scheffler. Almost produced an incredible end. Yeah, you had Friday and some of Saturday, Bryson DeChambeau getting involved in it a little bit. I think he's going to win one in the next 6. I don't know if he can win. The U.S. Open would be his best chance. I'd say that one. I don't know if he can win over at Port Rush, but I think next year he probably gets himself another major if he doesn't win the Open, and the Open will be set up for Oakmont coming up here in the middle of June. But fun weekend, good weekend. Just I think golf had been on a roll. PGA had been on a little bit of a roll, especially with their loyal fans, and I think it might have actually taken a step back this weekend. So you had that. You had NBA. We've talked about that. Yesterday you got a Game 7, and unfortunately it does what sometimes Game 7s tend to do. They don't live up to the hype.
Yeah,
Oklahoma City just thumps Denver 125-93.
Probably the best team ended up winning the series. Obviously, the Joker is one of the best players in the league, but SGA is really talented, and I think Oklahoma City is just a better team overall. So I don't know if they're that much better, but it feels like the Nuggets ran out of gas by the end.
So you get the Western Conference Finals, and I don't know what excitement this draws from people, maybe the hardcore NBA fans that want to watch an SGA against Anthony Edwards. I mean, you got two great basketball players. You got a lot of young, great talent playing there, but Minnesota and Oklahoma City, that'll get going Tuesday night at 8:30 on ESPN, and then what we were talking about in the previous segment, it'll be Wednesday before we see Indiana and New York. That game will be on TNT.
Just inject the 90s into your veins, right?
Really.
You want to just start naming names.
Reggie
about the
Miller.
Pacers. The Davis brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Rick Schmitz. Just inject it into my veins. The 90s are back, baby.
I'm trying to think of who the point guard was for the Pacers now.
Mark Jackson was there for a little while, but
Yeah.
I think he was on maybe the later iterations of those squads. Travis Best. This is perfect timing right here.
It was yeah.
Larry Bird, the coach. Larry Brown is the coach. Oh man, what a time!
It was really interesting. So we got that NHL. Really, if you like NHL, this is going to be a lot of fun. I think you get on the eastern side, you get the Hurricanes, and you get Florida. That'll get going tomorrow night, and then Wednesday. Really a phenomenal series, and it's not too late. Edmonton and Dallas. That'll start at 8 o'clock on Wednesday night. So NHL should be a lot of fun. NBA, we'll see. Unfortunately, we're all like, I think we're all programmed. Knicks Pacers got it 75-73. It's going to be like 4 fights a game. Spike Lee. Oh, no, it's not the 90s. It's not not Spike Lee yelling at Reggie Miller.
We will have a recommended viewing and watching list to prepare for this series.
So that's your NBA. Obviously, this morning we talked a lot about what happened here locally as part of our most important things in terms of our storylines. And you had the good and the bad. You had Ashley Chastain Woodard I would say complete the turnaround.
Yes.
Complete the turnaround.
I agree.
They go from being a regional team that got knocked out last year to now hosting a regional, winning it with pretty much dominance, having no problem, and they will now host UCLA in the Super Regionals.
Took down those pesky Ospreys from North Florida, so we avenged the early loss in the season from Lamont Paris' squad, so we got rid of them. Run ruled, did it in decisive fashion. And for me, as I said earlier, the season I consider the season a success now. Not that my opinion matters that much. The players, obviously, they want to go to the World Series. They want to win the World Series. They want to win a national championship. But looking at this season, for them to host and win a regional and now be hosting a Super, I think that is astounding success.
So that's phenomenal for them, and we'll continue to talk more about that this morning. Obviously, Jamie Bradford due up as well, but some of our focus will be on the negative. South Carolina baseball. Now, we know South Carolina softball has at least two games left. South Carolina baseball may only have one game left. John Whittle, I think, kind of called me pessimistic last week when I had him on, and I was like, they might have only 4 games left. And he goes, it could be more. And he's right. It could be more. But the way this team is playing, Preston, they win the Friday. It's almost like they won the Thursday night game. It's like, that's it. We're done. We're good. Call it a season.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's still seasons left to play.
So tomorrow.
But that game on Thursday did help them clinch the 15th seed in the SEC tournament.
Thank goodness. Yes, nothing like clinching the 15th seed in the SEC tournament, not the NCAA basketball tournament, where it'd be really cool. 803-404-6100. We'll catch up with Jamie Bradford on that as well this morning. But Preston, I think the question will be that we'll try to get into him. This is me personally. I don't want to speak for you or Jen or anybody here at the studio or Jamie or anybody. What's happened has happened. It's over. It's been bad. It's been ugly. It's been tough to talk about. They're not good. How do you fix it? What is the fix here? Lou Holtz went 0-11 in year one. It was as bad as could be. You got blown out by Arkansas. You lost close games to Florida. The Clemson game was abysmal at the very end. That year, I think all got going with a hurricane, obviously, in Raleigh. It was a wild season. Lou Holtz knew how to fix it. And they turned it around, went 8-4, and then obviously 9-3, and then kind of the wheels fell off a little bit. But if Paul Maneri is the guy for the job, if that's what's going to happen, how do you fix it?
That's what we want to hear from him. And unfortunately, a couple of times he's minced his words. And to this point, he's refrained from speaking in details about his plans because to be respectful of the team that is still playing, you still have to coach those guys. He doesn't have the luxury of just moving forward like we do as fans. And so I'm going to wait until the end of the season, and then I would like to hear what exactly his plans are. I'm good for him not wanting to be or being coy or not necessarily saying it at this moment because there is still a season to play, and that does feel a little distasteful to just move forward. But the time is coming very soon.
803-404-6100. We'll talk more about this. Where is the blame? What are we going to do? All those kind of things here with Jamie Bradford. Let's get to the phone lines real quick here. Hank wants to weigh in on women's track from the weekend. Hank, how you doing? What's on your mind?
Hey, I'm doing all right. I was wanting to call. I know y'all were recognizing some of the stuff the softball and the other teams did, but still wanted to recognize the women's track team. I think they finished 4th or 5th in the SEC championships this weekend, which was one of their highest finishes in a while. But the talented runner Jamisha Ford won the 100, the 200, and Carolina girls won the 4x1 and the 4x4 and the 1500. And she actually was one of the first SEC track athletes to finish with 4 gold medals and 4 championships. So she was named the outstanding commissioner's trophy for the best track runner at that meet. So just wanted to congratulate her and put that out there. Just to get a little bit off our baseball negative. All right. Okay.
Appreciate the phone call, yeah. And we'll get into that coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. We'll get into our Gamecock whip around there with looking at all the sports and not just baseball, because it was a big weekend. You had the golf team, the women's golf team out west in the regional. We'll get you the update on that and how everything's going from there for them as well.
Yeah, that's a great story. But unfortunately, a lot of the folks that are in the track world are having the same conversation we're having about baseball, because this at one point was a place that produced national championships.
True. And
we're not there on the track right now either.
803-404, about this coaching staff, what he thinks could be the problem. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison, between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, where those spring deals continue to roll on. I know spring is almost over, but you can still get out to Love Chevrolet and check out exclusive specials on Suburbans, Tahoes, Silverados, the entire lineup of award-winning Chevys. They're on the lot right now. All 14 acres are filled up, and they're ready for you to come and check them out. So visit Love Chevrolet today, I-26 in Harbison, between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. It has been your trusted hometown Chevy dealer since 1961. And the reason they've been in business that long, the way they treat you, the customer. From the time you come on the lot to the time you leave, they are there to make sure you get the knowledge, the advice, and the service that helps you make a great decision on that brand new car, truck, or SUV. So go visit Love Chevrolet today. Again, I-26 in Harbison, between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. You can also visit them on the web, lovechevy.com. Get out to Love Chevrolet, and together, let's drive.
Earlier accidents have been cleared, so things appear to be moving along. We like that. We might see a late day storm, so maybe 6 or 7 o'clock tonight. Could see a pop-up storm. High of 89, 92 with some clouds tomorrow. Maybe a couple isolated storms on Wednesday and a high of 90. But by Friday, though, actually going to drop a little bit. 79 will be our high. Right now, it is 66 on 107.5 The Game.
Rolling along on a Monday morning, fresh off a great, and an awful Gamecock weekend. More great. Women's golf, we'll get the updates on that. Thank you to Hank for the track and field update there and some of the stuff on that. And we'll get to more of that. But to Preston, that baseball program.
Yeah, it's gonna be a part of the conversation. Really quick before we get to Jamie, shout out to all the folks that are going to graduations today, May 19th, down at Colonial Life Arena. Richland 2 will be graduating some schools out of Richland 2. Westwood at 8 o'clock, so the heat is on for all of those folks. 12 o'clock Richland Northeast and 4 o'clock Ridgeview. We'll have a special Thorns, Boards, and Roses graduation edition tomorrow.
Okay.
We'll be ready for that because more folks will be graduating. And there'll be graduations all week at CLA, so prepare accordingly if you have to get down there because the traffic will be pretty tough. But Richland 2 is graduating today and tomorrow. Lexington 1 on Wednesday and Friday, and then they'll be continuing on next week. So congratulations to all the students and most importantly the parents.
I was going to say, who's this big buff? We'll get back into it.
Yeah, it's all about the parents.
Get back into it. 803-404-6100. If you hear anything you want to text in on this hour. Jamie Bradford joining us. And Jamie, we'll get to softball, but all right, the regular season has come to a conclusion. And just take me through your mindset. Saw some of your tweets from the weekend. Take me through your mindset of what we expected back on February 14th to where we arrived on May the 17th.
Yeah, well, good morning.
Good morning, too, by the way. Happy Monday.
Absolutely. Congratulations to Ashley and her staff and her team. I know we'll get to that here in a little bit. Yeah, look, it's nowhere near what I think most people thought it would be. If you're asking what my opinion was of this team and what I thought they would achieve this year, I thought it'd be actually very similar to last year. Just to be blunt, I like the talent. You know, I mean, you can look around the SEC and clearly see where they're deficient, right? I mean, I don't think that's really hard to figure out. But there were so many guys that we expected to see play roles this year that just didn't really get much better. You know, you certainly saw some young guys come into the program and develop in their freshman year, which is tremendous to see. There's no question about it. And you saw some guys transfer in, you know, guys like Chase Wood and Henry Kazmar who had nice years, and Brandon Stone had moments and things like that. But you were going to have production from the dudes that were returning in your program. And while you had a bunch of injuries that went along with this, and the line was too thin, I think, to have that many injuries. Especially from guys like Dylan Eskew and Talmadge Leakroy, who you were just going to need. Eli Jersenbeck went down before the season started, things like that. You saw a bunch of guys who I think are better than what they showed this year. And, you know, Kennedy Jones, for instance, you know, a kid who was expected to hit the middle of the lineup throughout the year. And, you know, I don't know what happened. It just didn't click. You know, Matthew Becker, who I think still is going to have a chance in pro baseball. I know some people will kind of laugh at that, but I mean, I've talked to a couple of scouts who they really like this kid, you know, so what's the deal there? You know, I didn't mention Nathan Hall as a transfer who came in and played well, but, you know, largely the pitching staff went backwards. And obviously the numbers show that. So I think that was a huge reason as to why things ended up the way that they did. And you couple that with injuries, and that's where you are now. Had it been a little bit better, you're sitting here at 28-28, guys. If you're talking about 7 more wins, and you're going, okay, they're 35 and 21, and maybe 13 wins in the SEC. You're talking about 7 more games. They're in the postseason. So it's not a huge difference, but it certainly is enough of one. And then you couple that with a lot of these games that just ended up being pretty embarrassing at the end of the day. And you are where you are. And, you know, they've got at least one more. They did beat LSU this weekend once. And who knows, maybe that can carry over, and we'll see what happens in a single elimination tournament.
Yeah, Jamie, you just said what I was going to get to. And I'm always very hesitant, because I know the hard work that the players put in. I know the hard work that this coaching staff. I'm always hesitant to talk about people quitting. So I don't want to say that. But what do you think What can we make of the last couple of weeks where the scores were so lopsided and the games were not very close? What can we as fans grasp on that?
Well, I think what it is you've got a group of kids who, when things are, they believe in one another. There's no doubt about that, right? I mean, they're playing for each other, and when things have a chance to go right, it's that gear kicks in, or things are going well. You get a couple of big knocks, or you got a few big innings on the mound, or whatever, and that winning gear kicks in. But when things really start going bad and you don't have much of an identity as to who you are, the losing gear kicks in. And so it's a very fragile, situation.
Mm-hmm.
If things are going well, then they can continue to go well. But if they're not, they collectively, like this program right now, doesn't have much of an identity to be able to stop that in its tracks and turn it around in the middle of a ball game or in the middle of an inning or in at bat or something like that. It's just not there. And, I mean, what do you draw from that? I mean, how did it get there? I mean, it's, probably would take us a lot longer than the next 35 minutes or so to have that conversation. I don't even know that you can pin it on just one thing. And I do think that, here in a few weeks when the transfer portal opens, I think you're going to see a lot of these guys decide to move on, for a bunch of reasons and things like that. And when that happens, it kind of makes everything that happened during the season. It kind of brings all of that to the front of the conversation and brings it all to fruition. If you know what I'm saying.
I'm with you.
So you say all that, and we're going to, in the next segment, we're going to get to what has to happen. You mentioned guys potentially going in the transfer portal. So how much blame do you lay? There's blame to go around, and the co-pilot weighs in, says you can kind of sum up the baseball season with, I think it was Dylan Eskew getting hit in the head in warm-ups by what a home run ball. And not only getting hit in the head and getting a concussion, but then injuring oblique falling down. That pretty much sums up the season. But where do we start to place the blame here? Do you if we have to play the blame game, because this for South Carolina baseball is completely unacceptable. All right, there were some injuries. Freak as they were, there were injuries. Nolan Naraki is a guy that was going to be counted on, but obviously couldn't play. Lee Croy was a guy who breaks a finger or a hand and has been out. Do you place it on player development? Do you place it on just not being good enough? Where do you try to start to place those particular three things?
Yeah, the thumb issue with Lee Croy was a big deal. Like I said, look, I like this. I mean, if you go read message boards and Twitters and stuff like that, they're all going to tell you that all these kids are terrible and they need to leave. Okay, but if you go back the last 2 or 3 years and you watch who all these guys are and where they came from, common sense will also tell you that they were wanted by all sorts of big-time programs in our area and beyond, from the SEC to the ACC to the Big 12 to the Pac-12 and so on and so forth. All right, these are guys that were recruited by big-time programs. That means that they can play a little bit, right? So I don't think they've got a roster of 35 guys as just a bunch of cast-offs that nobody wanted. That's just not true. Frankly, I'm kind of tired of seeing that. The players at some point in time need to be defended by somebody, instead of just being thrown under the rug all the time and told that they're a bunch of trash, because they aren't. Now, again, is it enough talent to go win the Southeastern Conference, guys? I mean, my honest opinion is I don't think that it is, and I don't think that it's enough talent probably to get to Omaha. But it's not so little talent that they should have only won 6 games. So, I mean, I think that certainly when you have a bunch of coaching transitions, not just the head coach. I mean, I know that's obviously a big one, from Kingston to Maneri, 2 totally different structures in how you do things, but they've had multiple pitching coaches. They've had multiple assistant coaches who've been on staff who've helped with offense. Joey Holcomb's been here, and I know Monty's been here for a few years, but Scott Wingo was here until last year, and then he was gone. And you had Chad Kaye, and I mean, you've had a roller coaster over there of staff changes. And I said a couple of weeks ago, something wasn't connecting here between the players and members of the staff. I mean, you can just see, like, if you've been around baseball, you can look at it and you start to ask questions when you see that. Okay, you don't ask questions before you see it. You ask them after. Something doesn't seem right. So I think there's a bunch of things. You know, I don't know that the bond between the players and them and members or certain members of the staff or the entire staff even is very good. I certainly think that, you know, there's key areas that they need to get better in, but you know, and then you culminate all of that with you lose a couple of tough games and things can go south in a hurry. And I'll add something else too. Somebody had said something to me about, well, we need more guys that throw harder. Guys, they beat Zach Cowan on Friday night. He's the best player in the SEC. Zach Cowan transferred in from Wofford. Zach Cowan throws about 90 miles an hour. Okay, you don't have to have a team full of 100-mile-an-hour flamethrowers, and half of them probably don't know where the ball is going anyways. That's number one. Number two, there's like 5 guys on this team who've been clocked at 95 and plus. That's hard enough. You know, that the stuff that they have needs to be developed, and specifically with the pitching staff. Specifically, if you go back and do your homework, go back every single year, especially since 1999 when they changed the bats, and you can go back before that. There hasn't been a staff this bad. The talent isn't that bad, in my opinion. So that needs to be evaluated. That's the first thing that needs to be figured out. Why didn't our guys get any better? And where we are deficient, how are we going to improve that immediately?
It's a great way to start, and when we come back, we'll talk about that, how you go about trying to get that fixed and get that set, and obviously we'll get into some softball discussion as well. Joined on a Monday by Jamie Bradford. Preston, you one more, forget without looking. We got you for one more?
I'm here for one more.
One more. Okay, I thought so. All right. We'll continue to roll along. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, joined as always on a Monday morning by Jamie Bradford. It is the early game.
So we did a little bit of remodeling in a couple of bathrooms, needed some updates done, and we needed some countertops. And somebody recommended to us, hey, why don't you go check out Carolina Stone Craftsman just outside Columbia in Chapin? So we did. First thing we did was tour their showroom, which is absolutely amazing. They even made doorknobs out of granite. Kind of crazy. Kind of looked Fred Flintstone-ish, but it was really cool. But overall, everything they do is absolutely beautiful. The best craftsmanship, everything delivered with the most professional results. Their showroom inside is fabulous. Their outdoor showroom is absolutely amazing as well. Lots of hardscapes work that they can do for you, too. Once the installation was complete, they cleaned up for us. Everything was fabulous. If you are looking for countertops for your kitchen or bath, I do encourage you to reach out to Carolina Stone Craftsman. Tell them Jen Jensen sent you. Family-owned and operated Carolina Stone Craftsman, just beyond Columbia and Chapin and beyond your expectations. Go online, carolinastonecraftsman.com. Traffic conditions this morning, things have gotten a little busier than earlier. Farming Creek Road at Highway 176, also Green Lawn Drive at Garner's Ferry Road, and Highway 6 near Bethany Church Road in Lexington County. So a few areas to be mindful of this morning. Could see maybe a late day storm pop up. We're talking like maybe 6 o'clock tonight, somewhere in that range. 89 will be our high. Partly cloudy, 92 tomorrow, 90 with some isolated storms on Wednesday. Then we kind of back off the heat a little bit. Thursday, 84. Friday, 79. We'll be in the 80s, low 80s really through the weekend and into Memorial Day. Right now, though, it is 66 on the early game.
$7:35 on your Monday morning, joined as always on a Monday by Jamie Bradford as we kind of roll along here trying to dissect this baseball season, because Jamie, it's kind of like the Titanic. It's going down. It's sinking. So how do we not allow this to happen again becomes the big question. What changes have to be made in the offseason? You kind of hit on some of that, starting with the pitching staff and your thoughts on – will they get? Let's start with Eli Jerzenbeck, who was expected to be a big part of the rotation and doesn't even get to. I think, did he get to the first game? I don't even think he got to the first game, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he goes out. Who do you kind of? I know Paul Maneri wasn't going to address it just yet because there's still games to be played. But who do you expect to come back, to be retained? Where do you go in a transfer portal? Things of that nature.
I have no idea who to expect to come back, Bill. I mean, I don't. I mean, I think that there's a lot of people considering leaving the program. So I don't know how to answer the question, and I don't want to say anything that's, it's not true. So I'm not going to do that. I mean, I would say this. I would say that of the arms that they've, like, I don't think collectively that this group is what everyone's made it out to be. Like, I think that this group, the ones who have eligibility, who could come back, talking about, Brendan Sweeney and Parker Marlott and Cooper Parks and Ryder Garino, Tyler Pitzer, Brandon Stone, Eddie Copper, Zach Russell, the freshman, Caleb Jones, I guess Caleb's gone. I'm sorry. Trying to think of who all the lefties are now. I know Wyatt Evans, who came in from Tennessee last year, didn't even pitch this year. Jake McCoy, Aiden Palmer, the Crowther kid who came in from Miami. Like, I think that that's a group that can be developed into a very solid group in the SEC. Now, does that mean that there's a Friday night guy in there or a Saturday night? Like, what I'm saying is, like, one of those traditional SEC Friday night first round type guys. Are they in that group? I would say that nobody in there has proven that to this point. Does that mean that one of them can't be? Well, of course not. It's baseball. You go play in the summer, you develop in the fall, and you pitch again in the spring. So, would they be out in the portal looking for a guy or a couple of guys like that? Absolutely. I mean, these guys know what it looks like. Terry and Monty have been recruiting for a long time, Coach Maneri. So I don't think you have that guy sitting there right now. Again, could you develop it? You might be able to. But I don't, as far as asking me who's coming back and who do I think, Bill, I don't know.
It's that much. What you're saying is it's that much in the air as we sit here today.
Yeah, I think June 2nd is going to be a pretty telling day for Carolina baseball.
Why is June 2nd that day?
It's when the portal opens.
Gotcha.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So we look ahead to that. That's about 2 weeks from. Is that 2 weeks from today? Is that right? 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Yeah, 2 weeks. By the way, just like softball, like the NCAA needs to fix this. Y'all realize the softball transfer portal opened yesterday?
Yeah,
they're about to play. They're about to play super regional. Come on, what are we doing?
Yeah, and remember this happened in basketball.
Football.
They were playing the NCAA tournament. Football was trying to figure out. I mean, you had Clemson going to, and what would have been one of the wildest things ever. You had Clemson going to the college football playoff. If they beat Texas, they would have played Arizona State, who I can't remember which wide receiver was transferring from Clemson to Arizona State. But if Clemson had beat Texas, they would have played Arizona State in the next round. Like that was a wild. I don't know how that would have worked. Like you got a guy transferring from one school to the other. So I'm with you that the whole thing is convoluted and messed up. All right, so you do that. Looking out, Ethan Petrie is most certainly gone. You're trying to figure out Nolan Naraki. Nathan Hall, I believe, is a guy you do not project back.
No, Nathan Hall he's certainly a top 10 rounder.
Okay.
He's a stud, no doubt.
So you don't project him back. The key, I think, when you talk transfer portal is going to be positional players, and if they don't have a good relationship with their coach, you talk about guys like KJ Scobie and Bo Hollins are two, I think, that we look at that are young players that you are definitely trying to convince to come back.
There's no doubt those guys, and hey, look, and Gavin Braylon too. Look, if you look at Gavin Braylon's numbers offensively, and there's some things they need to probably fix defensively too. But if you look at his numbers, the common fan is going to go, oh, well, he wasn't very good. Yeah, but he caught like well over half the games this year, I think, as a true freshman. Those are not guys that you want exiting. If you end up recruiting over them, that's one thing. But it is hard to – Landon Powell hit under 200 his freshman year too. Now, I'm not comparing anybody to Landon Powell. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying, okay? He's the best to ever do it. But in years 2, 3, and 4, especially 3 and 4, I mean, he was a weapon. So when you get a catcher that you trust, you don't want to let those guys go.
That'll be – so you got those three young players that you're trying to keep, and then you kind of look around, and obviously with the transfer portal, you can kind of fix things. And go ahead.
Look, Thomas LeCroy has another year, okay? There might be some people out there that don't like Thomas LeCroy, but he was a senior this year who was a catcher. And Thomas LeCroy would have been a huge part of this team for a bunch of reasons, but we're running out of time, so I don't have a chance to get into all of that. But, like, I wouldn't want Thomas LeCroy to leave this program. If it was me, I wouldn't want this kid. He's a heartbeat in there. I wouldn't want Ryan. I'm kind of confused as to why Ryan Bakes didn't hit more this year. I'd say defensively he was behind everybody else, but offensively, I mean, last year they thought he was going to hit in the middle of the lineup as a true freshman. You know, I mean, I wouldn't want to lose him either. Again, I know you got to go to the portal and you got to go get guys, but you don't also want to lose guys. And then I would say this thing too, Jace Woida is a guy who he's a JUCO kid who is a big time bopper. Anybody remember the name Yaron Peters?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
We all should, right? Okay. Yaron Peters came from San Jacinto Junior College in California, and his junior year at South Carolina in 2001, he hit about 148 that year, okay? And then the next year, he hit 377, hit 29 balls out of the yard, and 77 RBI, and he won a game for you in Omaha when he hit the home run against Nebraska. Okay, now, again, I'm not comparing Jace Woida to Yaron Peters either, but I'm saying when you get big-time JUCO hitters like this, big boppers, the kid who comes in, he's one of your top hitters in the SEC, in SEC play, big left-hander, he had the big hit the other night. Those are not guys that you want to see go elsewhere. It is hard to find those guys. But they're easy to project.
Yeah, got to hit a break real quick, come back. We'll get into some softball with you and talk about happy times. That's right. You're listening to The Early Game.
Do you really want to spend your weekends pulling stubborn weeds and guessing at fertilization? Of course you don't. This is Preston Thorne from Midlands Landscaping and Lawns, and I'm talking to homeowners who are ready to say goodbye to lawn care headaches. Paul Romenstein, the proud owner of Midland Landscaping and Lawns, has one question for you. Are you going to let the weeds win this summer? Of course not. It's time to achieve your dream lawn with the Midlands Green Treatment Program. This isn't just lawn care. It's expert fertilization that nourishes your grass and eliminates weeds for good. No more embarrassing bare spots and no more endless weed pulling. Just a beautiful, inviting outdoor space for your family to enjoy. And get a lawn you'll love, guaranteed. Paul Romenstein and Midlands Landscape and Lawns handle the hard work so you don't have to. Forget the DIY headaches. Visit hateweeds.com right now. That's hateweeds.com. Or you can call 803-356-8080. That's 803-356-8080.
We're wrapping up hour number 2 with Jamie Bradford here as we have tried to dissect a lot of baseball. And, Jamie, we got to circle it, June the 2nd. That's really when we will come back to the baseball discussion. And you mentioned it, for those wondering why June the 2nd, that is the opening of the transfer portal for baseball, and that'll be on a Monday. So we will have a big day then, I guess, to discuss that particular day, what's happening. But let's talk the positive. I know she's been on your show. I know she's joined, I think, Jay Phillips a couple times, Ashley Chastain-Woodard, and just what a breath of fresh air, what a turnaround. Not like this program was in the doldrums. They did make a regional, but the turnaround for them this year, absolutely fantastic. And, again, according to Gamecocks Online, the South Carolina website, opening game against UCLA is set for 7 o'clock on Friday night. I've had a couple people weighing in trying to tell me it was 1 o'clock. I'm going off of the Gamecocks Online website, 7 o'clock on Friday night against UCLA. But a great weekend for them. And they do it really with very little problem.
Yes, they are special, man. And you're right. I think it's 7 o'clock Friday night on ESPN2, and then 5 o'clock on Saturday. I'm pretty sure. At least that's what I was told. But yeah, this is really neat. And yeah, Ashley will be back on the program again this week at some point in time. And it's easy to see why so many kids want to play for her, and why when she left Charlotte, virtually the whole team was going, "Hey, do you mind taking me with you?" She's such a relationship builder, and she's got a great group of kids who they never flinch. You know what I mean? They never flinch, guys. And the proof is in the pudding on that from day one this year when they played Virginia. If y'all remember the very first game of the season, they were down like 4-0 in the first inning, and it was like, well, this is getting off to a rocky start. And they come back and win the game, and then they did it again in the very next one against the Wahoos once again. And then they kind of had that same trait throughout the season, where they'd have a rough early go of it from time to time. They didn't flinch, and then you look at the end of the ball game and they won. And also, hat tip to the staff for challenging their team. It's part of the reason they are a top 8 national seed, because they scheduled Duke on the road in Durham. They scheduled Texas Tech at home in non-conference series. They very easily could have scheduled somebody differently just to rack up the wins, and she didn't do that. She made sure to play these big-time opponents, and they won the games. They were 5-0 or 5-1 in those 6 games. So yeah, this has just been tremendous for this program, and it was so neat to see all the fans out there supporting them all weekend.
No, and again, it goes to show whatever sport around here, when you win, fans will come out and they'll support you and be there for you. And certainly it's going to be a lot of fun. And this group, by the way, real quick, I tell you what, let me change this because we can come back to this later. Your thoughts real quick, and I should have put this on my list to talk about. We got about 2.5 minutes left. I know you are huge on this. Your thoughts on the documentary that aired on the SEC Network last Wednesday, because that group, we had John Whittle on. He talked about the cast of characters that was on that. Just a great group of guys, and it reminds me a lot of this softball team and the characters they got and everything. But your thoughts very quickly on that documentary from last Wednesday.
Well, it was so good. I had a sneak peek link that ESPN had sent me about 2 weeks prior, so I'd already watched it 4 times, full disclosure. And then when it came on television, I was watching it like I hadn't seen it yet. That's how good it was. And knowing a lot of it, or pretty much all those guys actually, and then seeing the stories of the families, the Teal family and the Peters family, and the impact of that. It's one of the best documentaries that I've ever seen from a sports standpoint that's not being biased, because we're here in Columbia, South Carolina. That's being truthful. It was so well done. Hat tip to Jake Williams for going way back in the well when this story really began in the first 3 consecutive year run to Omaha, and tying everything in together. It was just that's 9 years of work right there for Jake Williams and everybody that ended up being involved in that. And it was as special as it could possibly be.
It really was really well done. Congratulations to Jake on that, and then everybody involved in it. Anything when you initially saw it that you didn't know or caught you off guard?
Well, certainly some, not from a baseball sense, no. But certainly I did not realize the big thing. I didn't realize that when Baylor passed, it was the moment that Walker hit the ball into left field. I don't know why I'd never heard that, Bill, but I just didn't realize it. And I texted Chad Holbrook. He said, yeah. He said, you should have seen the tears on our eyes when we found out about it, too. We didn't know. I mean, in that night at the ball game, they didn't know he had passed till afterwards, obviously. So that was certainly that was tough to get through right there. That was incredible.
Yeah, I actually, well, I didn't. I don't think a lot of us. Jen, I know you were kind of a little close to watching that in the documentary. Were you aware of that?
I wasn't until the documentary.
Yeah. But really well done. Really, really good stuff. Jamie, we always appreciate it. I know a lot of focus on baseball because they've got to get this right, but congratulations again. And you kind of mentioned it. Y'all have Ashley Chastain Woodard on with you later on this week, and good luck to her.
Yeah, no doubt. Appreciate everything as always. We'll see you next week.
Always.
Maybe it's Memorial Day. We'll figure that out.
Oh yeah, no next week. No show.
Not Monday.
Yeah, we'll catch up with you next week though. We definitely will. Take care. Hour 3 on the way. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. Summertime means lots of home time for you and your family. You know those kids are going to be tracking in some dirt, some grass, who knows what else, maybe some bugs. But if you want those carpets, the rugs, the tile, the upholstery, all to stay insanely clean, you need to call Zerorez with their patented ZR water technology that keeps carpets looking cleaner longer because they do not use a sticky, soapy residue or any harsh chemicals. Zerorez will make your carpets, rugs, tile, upholstery all stay spotless. Call right now and get their May sale. Get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for just $119. That's right, 3 rooms cleaned for just $119. All you need to do is mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game to secure this deal. You can give them a phone call, 803-262-4020, or you can book online. ZerorezColumbia.com is the way to do that. Again, give them a phone call, 803-262-4020, or book online, ZerorezColumbia.com. Zerorez, spell it backwards or forwards, is the right way to clean.
Farming Creek Road at 176, still an accident there being worked on. Green Lawn at Garner's Ferry Road, and also Highway 6 near Bethany Church Road. And your forecast looking a little summer-like, maybe a late day thunderstorm sometime, 6, 7 o'clock tonight. Pop-up shower or storm coming up. 89 for the high, 92 on Tuesday. Maybe some isolated storms on Wednesday with a high of 90, and then we kind of drop down a little bit. 84 on Thursday, 79 on Friday. We'll be in the low 80s through the weekend. 66 currently on 107.5 The Game.
Monday morning program. Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, Preston Thorne all year, and we will get back into it all tomorrow morning. Get you ready for South Carolina baseball tomorrow afternoon, tentatively set for about 5:30 in the afternoon against Florida over in Alabama at Hoover for the SEC tournament. And we have talked a lot about that this morning. Let's get into our Gamecock whip around. Let's listen to a little bit of what happened throughout the sports, not just baseball and softball, but we'll start with baseball. And South Carolina obviously took the first game Thursday night. They knock off LSU, the walk-off wild pitch. South Carolina wins. And you think maybe, hey, just maybe this team's got something left in them to get through the weekend. That didn't occur. They get pounded pretty solidly on Friday night, 8-1, and then lose the Saturday series finale 7-3. And here's Paul Maneri talking about a tough end to the series after that Game 1 win.
Well, I don't really have much to say. We had a good win against the number one team in the country 2 days ago and would have liked to have won a series. Competed hard today, and for the most part, it was a close game. It's just, hard to win games in the SEC if you score. What did we score today? 3 runs, and one yesterday, 4 runs in 2 games. So I knew we were facing 2 really tough starting pitchers, and they were going to be a challenge, and they turned out to be. So, they just, pitched well enough to hold us down, and we couldn't quite pitch well enough to hold them down. It was the story of the 2 games.
It sounds like a coach who is just ready for the season to end, who's just had enough. And I'm sure a lot of people over there are ready to move on and to try and get this thing fixed. And that's what's going to be the interesting part, as we were joined in the previous hour by Jamie Bradford, who talked about June 2nd being a key date to circle because that is the opening of the transfer portal for college baseball. I guess players could go ahead and announce their intentions to enter the transfer portal, but that'd be the first day they're actually eligible to put their name into the portal and start being actively, legally, keyword, recruited. And we'll see what happens with South Carolina baseball moving forward, but a very, very rough ending to the season. Unfortunately for South Carolina, a historically bad season, 6-24 in conference play. They are 28-28 overall. Obviously, they need to win against Florida to preserve not having a below 500 record for the year. But South Carolina baseball, 6-24, worst SEC record they have ever had since joining the league in 1992. That was the negative. The positive of the weekend, and there are positives. Let's get to some positives. Ashley Chastain Woodard and her ball club, they go through the regional with little problem this weekend. Run ruling North Florida yesterday to advance to the Super Regionals, where they will host UCLA. And here is Ashley Chastain Woodard yesterday on her thoughts on advancing to the Super Regional.
Yeah, I don't know if I have words, to be honest. I'm just really proud of everyone that is involved with the program. It takes a village to do something like this, and it's a special group, and I'm really excited that we're going to be right back here a week from now. And, it's just a testament to really the belief that these guys had in everything we talked about from day one. And it's really hard to do. We play in the best conference in the country, and to put ourselves in a position to host and then to come through as the regional champs and then have an opportunity to go to Supers next weekend, it's just really special. It's hard to do, and I'm really proud of the staff, proud of the players, and then really everyone that's been involved every step of the way since last summer. So I don't really have words. It'll probably take me through the summer to process it all. But right now we're just really focused on what's next, and being able to prepare, and just the opportunity to be together again another week is really special.
That was Ashley Chastain Woodard. The women have held us up here through the winter, the back end of winter and spring. Dawn Staley's basketball team obviously getting all the way to the national championship game. Gave us a lot of good stuff to talk about. Men's basketball was a little on the rough side. Baseball, a little on the rough side, but softball, absolutely fantastic. And as I said earlier, them advancing, it doesn't put a cap on the season, but I think it makes you feel good about the direction of the program. You didn't have a letdown here in Columbia. You've advanced. Now you get to go against UCLA, who will make the trip over here. They won their regional last night, and here comes a game Friday night, 7 o'clock, ESPN2 is when that'll take place. And excellent for them. Excellent for those women. They've worked really hard. 9 new players, 9 transfers coming in with Ashley Chastain Woodard. I believe Jamie Bradford, somebody told us last week, that was the highest in the NCAA, but she completely just revolutionized that program. It was rolling. It was okay. It made a regional last year, but this year they are one of the top teams in the country, and they'll get to host a super regional starting again Friday night. That game again set for 7 o'clock on ESPN2. Also this weekend, currently taking place, not at the actual second because it's 5:06 out in California, but the women's golf team is 8th in the NCAA championship. They are currently 8th. They are, I believe it is 8 over right now, according to Gamecocks Online. They are looking to finish inside the top 8 at the 2025 NCAA championships. This is out in Carlsbad, California. They shot 9 over in the conditions, which were labeled as tough yesterday, to get ready for the today. They will, again, that you can actually watch that if you want to. It is on the Golf Channel. South Carolina's been doing really good. According to the email that was sent out, they made the 15-team cut comfortably and sit just 3 shots back of Texas heading into the medal round, which starts today. And again, they want to finish in the top 8 to advance to match play, which would be starting tomorrow. So right now, Stanford is number 1, Northwestern is 2, Oregon is 3, Southern Cal 4, Florida State and Arkansas are tied for 5th, 7th is Texas, and again, South Carolina sitting at number 8, and they are 3 strokes clear of Arizona State and Virginia, who are both plus 11. So good luck to the women's golf team, who is performing extremely well right now. Also, we had Hank call in a little while ago, and it was a big weekend for track and field as they were up at the, I believe it was the SEC championships. They were, and it was Jamasia Ford, who is absolutely phenomenal, labeling her a human highlight reel on the track, earning 25 points en route to capturing the Commissioner's Trophy. Ford is the first Gamecock since Erica Whipple in 2003 to claim that prestigious award, given to the student athlete who scores the most points at the SEC championship meet. So congratulations to Jamisha Ford for winning the Commissioner's Trophy, which goes to the student athlete who scores the most points at the SEC championship meet. The Gamecock women placed 5th overall, and the men took home 11th. So the 5th place finish by the women marked the highest finish since claiming 5th in 2007. So there's a little bit of your Gamecock whip around there. A lot of really good things happening. I know some of it not on the baseball side, but softball, absolutely fantastic. Jamisha Ford, fantastic at the track and field championships up in Lexington, Kentucky at SEC championship weekend. And again, women's golf team rolling right along right now. Again, they will be back in action today, the final round of stroke play, where they sit 8th, or plus 8, and they sit 8th in that. And if they can finish in the top 8, they will go to the match play, which would start tomorrow. So congratulations to all those. And again, as I say, you can check that out on the Golf Channel later on today. 803-404-6100 if you want to text in. So there's your Gamecock whip around, sponsored by Midstate Roofing. If you've got a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek. 803-356-1919. Also this weekend, PGA Championship up at Quail Hollow, and It'll be interesting as we move. It'll be interesting for me, being a golf fan, as we move further and further away from it, what exactly the reviews are for Quail Hollow. It's an interesting course. I think Preston and I had this discussion on Friday. I think because it doesn't have history and tradition, it's kind of looked down upon a little bit, but it developed into a really, really tough course. You think about Jonathan Vegas being 7 under after the first round and Scotty Scheffler ending up winning at being 11 under. So the course kind of started to have some bite in it after Thursday with the winds picking up the way they did. I thought it was a good tournament. You had at one point, you had John Rahm, you had Bryson DeChambeau, you had Scheffler up there. You had a lot of big names that had worked their way up to the top, and it looked like we were going to get a really good back nine showdown. And then John Rahm kind of came apart a little bit, kind of fell apart, not able to keep the momentum going. He finishes at 6 under, but Scotty Scheffler claims the championship with an 11 under 4-day total, so really good for him. You had that. You had NBA playoffs this weekend. You also had NHL, and we'll get more into that as we go through the week, as we start to wrap up the sports, the 2024-2025 sports season, get into the summer, and get ready for the 2025-2026 season. Also, by the way, this weekend, Braves take 2 of 3 from the Red Sox, so they continue to play really well and try and make a run in the East. 803-404-6100. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It is the early game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where for 30 years, Mid-State Roofing has been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And it's that history, 30 years of history, that is your assurance that their professionals will provide the proper advice, the service, and the results that you need for your facility. And they're going to do it in a manner that's both safe and pleasing to you in your operation. Let's be real. The name of the game is to keep your operation dry and running long into the future. And at Mid-State Roofing, they design and install a bonded system with a protective guarantee that'll do just that. And they're there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You just need to give them a phone call. 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. You can visit them on the web, midstateroofing.com. That's how you can go and check out who they are and what their work is all about. But give them a phone call. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You'll speak with an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee. 803-356-1919. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek.
Farming Creek Road at Highway 76, still working an earlier tie-up there. 277 southbound at Sunset Boulevard. Reimer Pond Road at Longtown Road, also Highway 6 near Bethany Church, and also in the cleanup stages, Green Lawn at Garner's Ferry. 89, maybe a late day storm today. 92 tomorrow with cloudy conditions. Maybe an isolated storm on Wednesday with a high of 90 before we cool down just a little bit. 84 on Thursday, 79 on Friday. 67 currently with some clouds and 107.5 The Game.
.817 as we roll along on a Monday morning. Preston Thorne will be back in studio with us tomorrow. Got Jen Jensen and I holding it down right now. Talk a little PGA Championship. Scotty Scheffler claims his third major. He is just 28 years of age, but it honestly feels a little bit like he is behind where he should be at this point in his career. But he is playing. He's the world's number one golfer. He has now won the Masters twice last year and in 2022, and now claims a PGA Championship. And he will head to the U.S. Open coming up in June, looking to secure that one. And then who knows, maybe the Open Championship as well, but the U.S. Open Championship. Let's get out to the phone lines. Barry wants to weigh in on this particular PGA tournament. Barry, how you doing this morning? What's on your mind?
All right, man. How you doing, Bill? I know you're a big golf guy like me. I had my first set of clubs when I was 6 months old. Started swinging when I was 1. So basically I have it in my blood. Scotty's playing unbelievable right now. We know that. He's undoubtedly the number one player in the world. But like you said, you know, they try to make up records, okay? They're making up records. They're making up things. And at this point in their career, Scotty's played 140 tournaments, okay? Tiger had 141 at this time, so there's one tournament difference. So 15 wins for Scheffler and 34 wins for Tiger, okay? And 8 majors for Tiger and 3 majors for Scheffler. So that means that in one tournament, Scotty would have to win 19 times and 5 more majors to be on the level that Tiger Woods is on. So that's where everybody needs to try and realize that the guy is outstanding, but he's also 28 years old. By the time Tiger was 30, he had 46 wins by the age of 30, and I believe 10 majors. So there's a huge gap. He's got a long way to go. I like the way the guy plays, but, you know, these comparisons to Tiger, just like they say he's the first one to ever win his first 3 majors by more than 3 shots. Well, Tiger won his first Masters by 12, you know, 1 tournament. But that's my whole thing. Just temper the thing on Scotty right now. You know, when he gets up there and if he can win 46 or another 25, 30 tournaments in the next year, because he's going to be turning 29 in July. So he's got a long way to go in his next year to be anywhere near Tiger Woods. And that's pretty much where I want to leave it at.
I appreciate the phone call, Barry. Yeah, I'll be honest, I hadn't seen many comparisons to Tiger Woods. It is funny you mentioned that because one of the articles I had here to discuss, though, does mention that Scheffler, the world number one, this is straight from Golf Week. It says the world number one went from locked up to locked in, and at the tender age of 28, which I kind of agree with Barry. Not that 28's not old, mind you, but it says at the tender age of 28, he joined Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus as just the 3rd player to win 3 career majors and 15 PGA Tour titles. But as Barry pointed out, at 28 years of age, Tiger Woods had won 8 majors. I do not know the number on Jack Nicklaus, and by the time he was 30, Tiger Woods had won 10 majors. So there is a difference there, but still, I think you got to I am a golf. I enjoy golf. I think it is in a. I don't think it's in a good place, but I think it's in a good place. I know that contradicts itself. What I mean by that is you have some really good, bright stars that I think people can grasp onto. Scotty's kind of vanilla and boring, but he's a really good golfer. Although there's a very good, Jen, I don't know if you saw it, there's a really good video of him circulating yesterday, and maybe will bring a little bit of personality to him. After he wins, he takes his newborn, basically, I don't know how old the child is, maybe 1.5, and takes it into where he signs the scorecard and kind of throws his hat down, drops his hat on the floor, and puts I'm going to say a baby, a toddler, I guess, but puts it on the floor so that the child is sitting there with him as he's signing his scorecard, and it's kind of playing. I think it looks like he gave also the child a yardage book there to kind of play with. But it was a really cool kind of like father moment, and just a little bit of personality there from Scotty Scheffler. But you've got him, and he's really good. You might have a villain. I don't know if this is right or not, but I think it is. You might have a villain in Rory McIlroy. McIlroy, just the way he kind of acts and the things he kind of says. He got upset over the weekend because of what happened with his driver. His driver was disqualified. He wouldn't talk to the media. I like Rory, but he can be kind of whiny. He can be kind of pouty. I can see where people would label him a villain even after the emotion of the Masters, and I think people were happy for him, but the way he tends to act at times, there was the situation back in, March, I think, where he took the bystander, now within reason and understandable, but he took the patron's cell phone and walked off down the fairway with it after he said something and kind of heckled Rory. So I think you got maybe a villain, you got Scotty, and then you got Bryson DeChambeau. And I don't know where DeChambeau falls on your list of players. Great personality. In my opinion, if you've listened to this program for a while, you know that I've gone back and forth between liking DeChambeau and not liking DeChambeau, but I think he's good for golf. But why I say that golf's not in a good place is because you've got him on another tour. We don't get to see him on a weekly basis. John Rahm was fun to watch this weekend, and boy, did he stand out with that pink hat. But he's fun to watch. But you don't have him on the tour. He's on Live, and to find Live, you got to go to FS1, and then you got to figure out when they're playing and what days they're playing and what time they're playing and all the things. So you've got these young golfers that have personality that can attract you, maybe as a villain or as a good player. Tyrell Hatton is another one who's on Live, who is a nut. I don't know if people saw that. Tyrell Hatton, we can't play it on this station. You'd have to play it on a podcast. But he's got a profanity-laced tirade against his driver. He's spitting on his driver. He's calling it names that you should never call anybody. Tyrell Hatton is an interesting character. He could be a villain or could be liked. I guess my point here is golf's got people that you can kind of gravitate to, but they're all split up. So golf's in a great position because you got characters, you got people, you got guys that you can like or dislike, root for, root against. Golf's not in a good spot because these guys are all in separate places. But let's hear. Speaking of a personality, here's Scotty Scheffler yesterday after winning the PGA Championship.
I'm just really proud of the way we fought this week. I was battling my swing the first couple days. I didn't have as good of a prep week as I would have hoped to, and it was a battle out there for 4 days. And Teddy did a really good job of keeping me in it, and Randy helped me figure some stuff out with my swing, and Marnus helped get my body right. And it was a real team effort this week, and I'm proud of the whole squad, and I'm looking forward to celebrating this one.
So there's Scotty, and again, maybe we'll start to get more personality from him. I'd love to see Bryson DeChambeau come back to the PGA Tour and to see him regularly because, again, he's kind of a polarizing figure. Jay weighs in and says, can't stand Bryson. He never hits a bad shot. He got unlucky or a bad – he always gets unlucky or has a bad break, according to him. And Hot Sauce Ross weighs in and says, I'm coming around on Bryson, except it makes me cringe to watch him putt. So you've got those kind of things there. 803-404-6100. Let's get back to the phone lines. Ray wants to weigh in on Quail Hollow. Ray, go ahead. How you doing this morning?
Hey, doing good, guys. Doing good. Yeah, I think definitely Scheffler. He could be the the new face of golf, and I think you're right. The game has kind of not been the same, since Tiger and then Live Golf. But I think Scheffler and Rory are two guys that could, get the interest going again along with those other guys. And you're right. You almost need that John McEnroe type in golf. You need that guy people despise who's a good golfer at the same time. But I think it's coming back a little bit. We'll see. But yeah, just to talk about Quail Hollow, I've been going to Quail Hollow since the early '70s when they used to play the old Kemper there, And I'll tell you, it's a hell of a course. It's not a dump. I know there's some people that, like you indicated, were saying, well, why do they pick that place? But, you know, and I think that's the beauty of the PGA. They play at different places, and they also play at places that might not be places you think they play at. I mean, you remember, was it 2 or 3 years ago when they played at what they call Congaree down in, you know, someplace in lower South Carolina? I mean, that was, you know, that will always be remembered because of what Lefty did. But I think the way the PGA picks these places sometimes that you wouldn't think they'd have a tournament there, I think that's what makes it kind of unique. But that's a hell of a course there in Charlotte, and it's got a lot of history. But anyway, I just want to put that in. Thanks a lot, Bill.
Yeah, you were referring to Kiowa. The PGA Tour has played at Congaree down off of 95, but the PGA Championship was actually played at Kiowa. I was down there for that. That was when, and you're right, that's when Phil Mickelson won it. They've played different ones. They've played a lot. You know, you look at it, the Harding Park during the COVID year out in San Francisco, Bellerive back in Missouri back in 2018. I think it was Koepka who won that one. But they do play some of the same courses consistently. Kiowa, Southern Hills, Oak Hill. I know people are not a fan of Valhalla. That's where they were at last year. So it just kind of it bounces around. We'll see if it goes back to Quail Hollow. Now, I don't think anybody is saying Quail Hollow is a bad course, but I'm kind of in agreement with Jim here. Jim says, text in, 803-404-6100, said Quail Hollow is a good course for a regular tour event. Always in great shape and a great test, but it has no qualifications for being a major venue. Golf experts online have been critical all weekend, other than 16 through 18, which Scheffler had no problem with. It's just not that challenging. I doubt we see another major at Quail Hollow, just way too boring. And I don't know if boring is the right word, but there does seem to be something missing from Quail Hollow in terms of a major. Don't get me wrong. Next year, when the Truist Championship comes back up there, I'll probably go up there. It's a walk now, I'll tell you that. I got my steps in. Feel good. Lost some weight this weekend. But the bottom line is that there is something that seems to be missing from Quail Hollow that makes it a major venue. And I can't put my finger on it. I don't know if it's history, tradition. I don't know if there's something about the course. I saw the article that labeled it the Kardashians of golf courses, or the Kardashian of golf courses. There's something there that I agree with, but I can't quite explain it. And again, I don't know what it exactly is. I don't know. I've been to Kiowa a lot. I've been to Kiowa a lot. I've been to I'm blanking now on Hilton Head. All of a sudden, I've just completely blown up. The Heritage. Been to the Heritage a good bit. And it's not that I think the Heritage is a good PGA Championship course. It's just, it fits. There's something about it that's great and it fits. And then there's obviously other tournaments that just fit and feel great. We'll see. We'll see where the PGA Championship, if the PGA Championship comes back to Quail Hollow, comes back to Charlotte, and what they do there. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. Let you hear a little bit more from Paul Maneri. A rough weekend, and now the baseball regular season is over. One game left tomorrow against Florida. Expected start time around 5:30. We'll have that for you, and we'll keep you updated on what time that will take place tomorrow, or what time it will take place on our airwaves. But we'll talk a little baseball and let you hear a little bit more from Paul Maneri, as well as Ashley Chastain Woodard. The good and the bad of the weekend. Bill Gunner from Mid-State Roofing. Whether it's your home or your business, you don't need leaks in your life. Let me tell you, they are pesky. They're bothersome. Your computers get wet. The carpets get wet. Everything goes just haywire. Call Mid-State Roofing, because at Mid-State Roofing, they design and install bonded systems with a protective guarantee that'll keep your operation, whether it's your home or your business, dry and running long into the future. And they do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You heard that right. You give them a phone call at 8:30 this morning. Give them a call at 6:30 a.m. They're there for you. You'll speak with an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee. What you have to do, though, is just make that phone call. 803-356-1919. You can visit them on the web as well, midstateroofing.com. Whether you're here in Columbia, whether you're in Florence or Aiken, Augusta or Myrtle Beach, wherever you're at, Mid-State Roofing is ready to help you with that roof. So sign up today for a maintenance contract. Give them a phone call, 803-356-1919. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
Reimer Pond Road at Longtown Road, we have a report of an accident there. Also, 277 southbound at Sunset Boulevard or Sunset Drive. And then Sumter at Hampton Street in downtown Columbia. Also an accident there. Chance for a stray late afternoon thunderstorm, a high of 89. Tomorrow, clouds and 92 for the high. And on Wednesday, we'll see some isolated storms, high of 90 before we get back into the 80s for the remainder of the week, even into the upper 70s for Friday. Right now, though, 67 on 107.5 The Game.
.35 here as we start to wrap up the back half of the program. Get you ready for a Monday. Big quiet sports Monday. No playoffs tonight. No NBA, no NHL. Good night to hang out with the family, maybe watch a movie. I don't know what the proper age. I'm trying to learn this as a father. But, Jen, I would say 15. My daughter, I let her watch Meet the Parents this weekend. I thought that. I'd say I let her, but we had a father-daughter night on Saturday night. It was a lot of fun.
I think that's probably fairly safe at that age.
Yeah. I thought it was so.
And I still get frustrated when I watch it because I'm just like, give Greg a break. You know, it just seems like nothing goes his way, which is obviously the premise of the movie. But I think the best scene is the lady at the airport.
Yes.
I mean, that's probably top notch.
Ansley, my daughter, thoroughly enjoyed it. And I got to admit, watching it with her as a father who may be dealing with that over the next decade or hopefully longer, it was a different experience watching it.
I could see that.
Also think it made her appreciate my stance on some things a little bit better. So
okay,
that was a good bonding moment. So maybe you can have a bonding moment with the family tonight, grill out or relax. I know Jen said that we could have some pop-up storms or something of that nature because starting tomorrow, we've got the SEC baseball tournament. And then, of course, Friday, we'll work to get you time. I've seen a couple people weigh in. I think ESPN, I was looking on ESPN, but I couldn't find it. ESPN has the softball game listed for 1 o'clock on Friday. The university website, GamecocksOnline.com, has 7 o'clock. So we'll try and get some clarification on that throughout the day so that if you want to go to Beckham Field and check out the game, you don't go at the wrong time. That would be vital to supporting the team, is going at the right time. And one of the things that Ashley Chastain Woodard and the team did is set the RBI record. And she talked a little bit about that yesterday after the regional game. They knock off North Florida. They rule them. Here's Ashley Chastain Woodard talking about they expected to set the RBI record this year.
I absolutely expected to set it. And the reason for that is because I think we have the best hitting coach in the country. Katie Browder, our associate head coach, does anything and everything offensive in our program. I try not to mess offense up. I am more of a defensive pitching person myself. And, she's really good. Like, she finds the right things to say. She knows, the right information to give them. And she's led our offense from day one. I sometimes throw BP, as you saw the other day. But, I try to let her that's her lane, make those decisions. So, no, I'm not surprised that we've broken many records, I think, at this point. I think we broke the doubles record yesterday. Where's Brian? Today, we broke the doubles record today. I mean, it's just fun milestones, right? Fun milestones, and I think it sets the foundation and the expectation of the offenses that we're going to have in the future, which is really fun. So, Katie's a Gamecock through and through. She's been a Gamecock her whole life. Her family is rooted here in Columbia. Her dad played football here, and being here, leading the program, means just as much to her as it means to me. And so when you have someone in the driver's seat leading your offense like that, I think we're going to break a lot of records.
So that's Ashley Chastain Woodard really praising her staff, talking about her role and praising her staff. By the way, just about 13 minutes ago, the NCAA softball put out the Supers schedule. I'm going to go with the NCAA on this. We've talked about ESPN. We've talked about Gamecocks Online. The NCAA put out their super schedule. They have for the weekend what many of y'all have said, the game for Friday, scheduled for 1 o'clock on ESPN2, and the game Saturday listed for 1 o'clock. So I'm going to go with the NCAA. I'm going to go with the party that schedules these things. That would be the NCAA. They have got it listed for 1 o'clock. So we will get confirmation on that. Like I said, the Gamecocks Online site had 7 o'clock, but the NCAA themselves at NCAA Softball has just put out their Supers schedule, and it lists the game being at 1 o'clock on ESPN2 on Friday. So hopefully we'll get confirmation on that here in just a little while through the university. 803-404-6100. That was the positive. The negative? Oh, boy. Well, South Carolina baseball mercifully comes to a regular season ending against LSU. You look back, 6-24, worst record ever for South Carolina in SEC play. And after the game on Saturday, another loss, 7-3 loss. This is Paul Maneri talking about assessing the biggest issues over the last 30 games.
And I just said what I thought it was. We just, went up against players that were better than ours. I don't know what else to say. The last kid was throwing 99, 100 miles an hour. I don't have anybody throwing 99, 100 miles an hour. Their two starting pitchers the last 2 days have over 120 strikeouts. You'd have to add up 3 of our pitchers to get to 120 strikeouts. It's just, they got a guy that, how many home runs does Jared Jones have? Almost 19. We don't have anybody with 19. It's just, sometimes you got to just be honest about where you're at and what you're up against. And, the other teams, are a little bit more powerful and, better arms than we have. And we're out there competing as hard as we can with what we have. And, hey, I'm looking for positives. We did a good job in midweek games this year. We beat the number 1 team in the country one time. We had not a lot, but some games that were in the balance, and we just couldn't finish them off. And what can I say? We are what we are. We did the best we could, and now it's time to, like I said, we have the SEC tournament, and then it'll be time to turn the page and, try to get better. That's all we can do.
2 things. Number one, there's something that bothers me about him saying we beat the number 1 team in the country once. That used to not be the standard here. That's something about that bothers me. We may have to revisit that with Preston Thorne tomorrow. Number 2, he mentioned turning the page and going to Hoover. Real quick, here is Paul Maneri assessing any chance Ethan Petrie plays this week in Hoover.
I haven't talked to him about it, but I'd be doubtful about that. He wasn't even on the active roster for this weekend, so that tells you how sore his shoulder was. So I haven't talked to him in the last day or so about it. You hate to just keep saying, hey, how's your shoulder feeling? How's your shoulder feeling? It's not like, like that it's going to be a miracle. So I'm doubtful that he would be ready to go.
So it sounds like we have seen the last of Ethan Petrie in a South Carolina baseball uniform, as he will be expected to be drafted very high. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. We'll wrap everything up. It is the early game. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder, and First Palmetto Bank. Let me tell you, if you're thinking about refinancing, if you're thinking about buying, maybe you're thinking about building a home this summer, the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder, is the person to call. He did that for me just a few years ago, helped me get a great interest rate, helped me find a great down payment and a good monthly mortgage payment plan, and that's what he can do for you. Whether you're, again, refinancing, whether you're building, whether you're buying, Jacob Crowder is the first phone call you need to make. Give him that call today, 803-719-1005. Again, that's 803-719-1005. Check out what the interest rates are. Check out what options you have, maybe what you need to put down, what your monthly mortgage payment would be. And at First Palmetto Bank, they are locally owned and operated right here in the Midlands, which means they have quick and precise underwriting. So again, if you're looking to buy, you're looking to refinance, you're looking to build, call the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder, today. 803-719-1005. Tell him Bill Gunner sent you. Wrapping up the program on what's going to be, I think, a very nice Monday here in the Midlands. Hope you're doing well. Tyler Head joining me for the final segment here as Jen had to run out. And welcome back from vacation.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's waking up on the first day back's never easy, but I made it in, so doing okay.
Yeah. How was it?
It was fun.
To Nashville, I believe.
Yeah, we went to Nashville. We actually last Sunday we went to a concert in Atlanta. Went to Nashville for a couple of days, so it was pretty neat. Never been there before. Got to explore downtown quite a bit. Very expensive.
Yes.
I was telling Jen I paid well over $100 in just parking alone for the 4 days we were there, but fun time.
Yeah, I know somebody going up there this weekend, and it is. And I've told them, and they thought I was going to be like, "You don't under." It has become one of the most expensive towns I think in this country. Like it is
easily.
It is absolutely ridiculous. They are very proud. It's also become a little bit more like I almost want to say corporate because you got like Kid Rock's bar.
Yeah,
I think Luke Bryan has a bar there.
Everybody has a bar there. It feels like now.
Yeah, it's not. I like Nashville. Somebody said, let's go. I'd be like, yes, okay. I will go back.
It's not as much like, and there's a few like hole-in-the-wall type of bars, but yeah, like just about every celebrity seems to have a bar. We went to Luke Combs' Category 10, which is brand new, and we couldn't even get waited on. It was so busy in there.
It's, again, the last time I was up there was the SEC Media Days, 2 years ago, and it was for a person... For a person who likes to go and have a good time,
yeah,
it was pricey.
Yeah,
it was,
oh yeah,
it was pricey, and our per diem did not cover the things that I like to do. So, it was quite the trip. But nonetheless, glad you had a good time. Glad you're back.
Yep.
I know you got 3 hours to fill, so I'm sure you have hot takes. But if you had one big hot take from last week that you didn't get to spout out, what would have it been?
Man, I guess savor the one win you had against LSU.
Oh, don't do that.
I mean, and I know I listened to you guys a little bit on Friday morning. Hey, cool, but one of the few highlights of the season, I guess.
I'm going to get back into this with Preston tomorrow because there is something about Paul Maneri kind of highlighting beating the number one team. It's baseball. In South Carolina, honestly, I know that this is not the year, but that's not a highlight for South Carolina baseball. And that's always where I thought there was a disconnect between Mark Kingston and the fan base. I think Preston actually brought it up very early on, is that Mark Kingston was kind of like, hey, this is what we're doing here is not bad. And the fan base is like, yeah, it's not bad, but it's not good either.
Yeah.
And what they did this year is bad, and you don't say, well, hey, at least we beat the number one team. It's not like when South Carolina beat Georgia in 2019 and was 4-8 that year.
Sure.
Because even when they did that, people were still like, so you can beat the number one team, but you can't beat Appalachian State. Got
right.
it. All right.
Right.
No
and look, baseball's we know how baseball goes. Sometimes you can have a really good day, really good game, and beat anybody. I mean, again, you see that, in softball and baseball quite a bit, but it's the overall series that you need to take to actually make a point. And when you really didn't show up for the final two games of the series, then that one win on Thursday, as cool as it was in the moment, doesn't really mean a whole lot.
No, it doesn't. And then also when you say you got beat, 24-2 one game by Auburn and 22-3 by Florida, yeah, you kind of it makes it harder to say. Also for the record of everything, what was it? Texas A&M was ranked pretty highly, and Missouri went and swept them a couple weeks ago. And I think that's Missouri's only 3 wins in conference play.
Missouri actually ended the year with a little bit of momentum, believe it or not.
Yeah, they're red hot going into the conference. Who knew? Oh, watch out for Missouri over in Hoover. They finished the season 3-27. So yes, they got swept again this weekend, and of course that would be the one team South Carolina did not get to play. But South Carolina, Missouri, by the way, the only two teams that did not get to double-digit victories in conference play.
And you're lucky that they expanded the SEC tournament to invite everybody now, or else you've been watching it from home, and your season would have truly been over.
Yeah, there might be some people who wish that it was truly over.
I feel bad for Jack because he does have to travel to Hoover for this tomorrow. He's not expecting to stay long, which I don't think anybody is. But it's your job. You got to go out there.
Don't get yourself caught in a bad situation. Take multiple pairs of underwear just in case.
That's true.
Multiple pairs.
That's true.
Just it's all, be on the safe side. Be like a Boy Scout and always be prepared. Real quick, FanDuel has put out their Week 1 college football spreads. Their Week 0 and Week 1. Kansas State -3.5 against Iowa State. And I only point that out because those are the two teams we're punishing the great people of Dublin, Ireland to have to watch.
Oh, that's right. That is the Week 0 game.
And that is why I brought that up, is because you're like, what are we doing to people in Dublin? Like, how are we going to get them involved in football if we're sending Kansas State and Iowa State?
Yeah, at least like last year you had Florida State, which is a little bit more of a brand that I think people can get jazzed about. Mm-hmm. Notre Dame's been over there in the past couple of years, but yeah, that seems very random
I believe it is on a Friday night, the opening week of college football, the true opening week, week 1. Auburn minus 2.5 at Baylor.
Okay. That's actually an intriguing game.
Yep. Georgia Tech minus 3.5 at Colorado.
Oh, I forgot about that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, Ohio State, this is again FanDuel. Ohio State minus 3.5 hosting Texas.
Ooh. I think go either way because I think Ohio State has more of a question at quarterback right now than Texas does.
Not true freshman. Redshirt freshman Julian Sayin.
Right.
I expected to be the
At
starter.
least we've seen some of Arch Manning. We don't know anything about Julian Sayin yet.
Yeah, and Texas is having, it's really the battle of who can spend more in the NIL game there. Sneaky upset game. Tennessee, new quarterback. Syracuse, new quarterback. Tennessee minus 12.5.
I don't know if I'd put the line that high.
That's what I thought, too. South Carolina, the same as ESPN Bet. South Carolina minus 9.5 against Virginia Tech on that Sunday game. Clemson, same as ESPN Bet, minus 2.5 against LSU.
104 days.
You got 3 hours. I know you're loaded up with hot takes. I'll turn it over to you. I'll get out of here. I'm going to take a nap. Y'all have a great rest of the day. Talk to you tomorrow. Preston Thorne will be back. Bill Gunner for Old Timey Meat Market. Oh, yeah, it was an Old Timey Meat Market weekend. We had steaks. The kids loved them. We had chicken, the Italian chicken skewers. I had some chicken salad with the little Tostitos chip and hot sauce. Absolutely phenomenal because at Old Timey Meat Market, you are going to get the absolute best cuts of meat at an absolutely great price. And so that's why this weekend was just a bunch of grilling out, hanging out. Austin and Ansley got some steaks on Friday night. Again, I did the Italian chicken skewers on Saturday night. We had an absolute blast. When you visit one of their 3 locations, South Congaree, the St. Andrews Road store in Irma, or the Lexington store, you're probably going to run into me there. You're going to find, again, the absolute best cuts of meat, whether it's steak, whether it's beef, whether it's pork, whether it's chicken, whatever it may be, salmon. You're going to find what you're looking for. So I encourage you to stop by today. The reason I go to Old Timey Meat Market, it is a non-grocery store meat buying experience. They know my name. They want to talk to me. They want to explain maybe some of the new things that they've got, and that's why I go there. You go visit Old Timey Meat Market as well. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.